She gave me $2,000 in about 2 weeks. I turned that into $20,000 in collected revenue for her business with a rather simple funnel that just had like one or two really interesting, unique tweaks that no one else was doing. Yeah, the main insight or hack that allowed me to find such quick success with that very first client was simply testing more ad creative. That was the whole magic. But yeah, the main growth hack was like I came in with 8 ads and immediately one started converting exceptionally well. So all the budget was put into that. Then I duplicated that ad set. I got 7 new ads live as small tweaks to that one, and I kept improving it. So I was able to test ad creative a lot faster.
You have all of this knowledge behind you now. So what is your guiding philosophy today when it comes to marketing, specifically to drive business growth?
You're listening to the B2B Revenue Executive Experience, a podcast dedicated to helping executives train their sales and marketing teams to optimize growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. Let's accelerate your growth in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the B2B Revenue Executive Experience. I'm your host, Corey. We have with us today Marketing Max. He is a serial entrepreneur who's built and sold an award-winning 7-figure ad agency, and he's earned more than 200,000 total followers with marketing content on social. He's helped over 250 amazing brands in that time, optimizing campaign budgets of 10 million plus, and he's got dozens and dozens of out-of-the-box high ROI marketing funnels for us to talk through. Overall, if you want someone to talk to about marketing on social, Marketing Max is there. Max, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Corey. I love B2B and I love talking. It's much more fun than working. So happy to be here.
That's right. Yeah. As long as we can quote unquote work like this, I'm fine with it. Right. It's a good day.
Couldn't agree more.
All right. So yeah, to help us get to know you a little bit, and maybe let's dive into your backstory just to give our audience a little bit better idea of kind of where you come from, and we'll set the stage for what you see going on in the industry right now, and what we're looking at 5 years down the line. So to start, you've obviously had a storied journey in marketing, but what started it all? What inspired you to get into marketing and go all in?
Yeah, well, I actually started my career on Wall Street in New York City. I was helping early stage companies raise capital at a couple different venture capital funds, private equity funds, then eventually found myself at an investment bank, a very, very, very small investment bank, about 30 people that doesn't even exist anymore. I was required to take the Series 7 exam, which is the exam you need in the United States to formally sell securities. And I royally bombed the Series 7 exam. I just totally failed. I'm a terrible test taker, but I was really good at pitch decks and I was really good at DCF, cash flow evaluations. And I found myself in this investment bank having just bombed the Series 7 exam going, what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do with my career? I want to be a partner at this firm. And it was by far and away the fastest track to becoming a partner in investment banking at all was to go to a really small firm, kind of own one vertical. They specialized in medical device sales and manufacturing penny stocks. I hate using the word penny stocks, but pipes for, small businesses that would be listed on interesting exchanges. And one of the clients that I was helping to raise a Series A round for via a pipe actually asked me to run her Facebook ads after a meeting. And I had no experience really running Facebook ads other than like one time in college. I boosted a post and I was like, why me? And she said, every agency I hire sucks. This was October of 2016. She said, every agency I hire sucks. You're really good at helping me raise money from investors. I feel like you'd be really good at helping me raise money from customers, one, product sold at a time. So she gave me $2,000 in ad spend, which went a lot further than it does today. Back then, when cost per 1,000 impressions was a fraction of what it is now.
Oh, yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, when it was $2 or $3 to get in front of 1,000 people, and now it's like $50, $60 sometimes. But yeah, she gave me $2,000 in about 2 weeks. I turned that into $20,000 in collected revenue for her business with a rather simple funnel that just had like one or two really interesting, unique tweaks that no one else was doing. None of the agencies she hired particularly were doing. And I was immediately hooked on Facebook ads, Google ads, landing page optimization. I went to Barnes & Noble and spent like $400 on like CRO for dummies and Facebook ads for dummies. And I was just like, I need to study everything I possibly can. I went on YouTube. I spent hours and hours and hours in my really shitty apartment in New York City, like just watching and studying. And about 6 months later, I had enough clients from the investment bank and from my network in New York paying me very little every month because I didn't really understand my value back then, but paying me very little to quit my job on Wall Street and start an agency. So I started my agency in New York City. Over the next 5 years, I built that up into a 7-figure-a-year business, built that up into a 15 full-time employee company, global presence with team members and clients in like 6 or 7 different countries, and then selling that business about 3 years ago to a private equity fund. So, over the course of those 5 years, we managed ads and did some kind of fractional CMO work and growth hacking work for more than 125 companies in every niche, from e-commerce brands to hospitality brands to software brands. You name it, I've ran ads for it. Period. End of story. You name it, I've tried to help growth hack and optimize the funnel for. So that's kind of the long story long.
Yeah, I mean, that's one heck of a story. First, I want to say congratulations, because so many agencies get stuck around that like $1 million mark and just kind of fizzle out, or they limp on for 5 or 10 years and they go nowhere, right? So congratulations on, getting that agency dream and then really achieving that good exit.
Thank you. It was a fun ride.
So the hook that got me in your story was, you got $2K in ad spend and you flip it, you turn it into 20. And like you said, you didn't really know what you were doing, but at the same time, obviously you brought something from that fundraising background to Facebook ads, novel enough to have that really rapid growth. So what was it that you transferred so quickly between the two?
Yeah, the main insight or hack that allowed me to find such quick success with that very first client was simply testing more ad creative. That was the whole magic. Most ad agencies at the time, especially for startups that would manage a 2K or 5K or 10K budget, were only testing like 2 ads or 4 ads at a time. And I came up with like 10 different ads just because I'm a semi-creative guy and I just come up with ads all the time. And I realized if you were to go run TV commercials, right? Let's say you had a budget of $1 million and you were to want to test which TV commercial got the most amount of people to call into your call center and purchase a product. You would have to say, okay, we're going to create 10 ads and we're going to put 100K behind each, right? And if you wanted to test 20 properly, you'd need another 100K purse. You need another $1 million to test. What I learned the moment I opened up Facebook Ads Manager was the algorithm is smart enough where if I upload 10 or if I upload 50 ads, 50 different images, whatever it is, the algorithm is smart enough to start throwing a little bit of budget behind each and then allocating more and more and more budget to ad that's performing the best, right? And get that ad to be shown to the most amount of people for the spend, whatever the spend level is that you dictate and whatever the spend level is that you put in. So she was only testing 2 or 3 ads. I came in with 8 in the first week. I think my ads are also more punchy and we can get into that too. But yeah, the main growth hack was like, I came in with 8 ads and immediately one started converting exceptionally well. So all the budget was put into that. Then I duplicated that ad set. I got 7 new ads live as small tweaks to that one. And I kept improving it. So I was able to test ad creative a lot faster. And then the other thing is on the creative side of things, I think, a lot of agencies and brands that are just starting out, they don't really take the time to think about their creative and specifically their copy and their messaging more than like the video. So everyone's obsessed with UGC right now, or everyone's obsessed with static. But what is the actual message that you're saying to these people is way more important than the fact that it's a video or the fact that there's a hot person in it, male, female, or other, like or they. Like, it doesn't matter. The visual, the messaging is what matters. And I think what a lot of people get wrong, number one is the fact that they're only testing 2 ads or 4 ads. But the other thing is all of the copy typically is saying what the product is or what the product does, not why the person should buy the product. So what I did is this one client was a med spa. So we were getting bookings for her, like one of the services of her med spa. And it was like, oh, get $10 off your first massage, or get $10 off your first Reiki session, or get $10 off your first whatever, or like rejuvenate your mind, body, and spirit with your first session. And the second one that I gave, like rejuvenate your mind, body, and spirit, is better than the first one, but I take it 40 million steps farther. And I want to say, are you feeling stressed? Have you tried these 4 things and they're not working out? Would you consider XYZ? It only takes 30 minutes of your time. And the first session is 50% off or whatever it is. So like dangling what I call the carrot, like the juiciest carrot, whatever it is that those people want most in front of them, and then A/B testing 8 different ads is how I was able to find success for Alexandra and then the other 120 plus clients that I had over the 5 years. It's just like taking, as my father would say in basketball, taking an extra split second to square up to make sure that your shoulders and your knees and your legs and your hips are all square exactly at the hoop before you take your jump shot. Right? It's like taking the extra split second to say, what would someone who's seeing this ad, who's maybe interested in our service, what would get them to sign up immediately? Like, what do they wake up every day wanting? They wake up wanting more money. They wake up wanting better skin. They wake up wanting to lose weight. Like tying whatever it is that is the thing they want most back to your product. That's what I had success with for her. And that's what I do with all of the clients that I work with even to this day. It's just coming down to like, what is the juiciest carrot I can possibly dangle in front of them? I try to come up with like 4 juicy carrots or 8 juicy carrots, at the very least 2. And then I'll come up with a couple different angles or ways to explain that. And then I just test that in the Facebook Ads Manager, and the algorithm will do a good enough job of figuring out which is the one that's going to get the most amount of people.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds simple, and yet it doesn't get done, right? Or we wouldn't be here talking about it. I mean, it's the same thing when we look at from the sales perspective, right? And we think, why is this generic kind of features and functionality cold email going to work? And, even when we go that route to put ourselves in their shoes, be able to tell their story kind of back to them and think through it like that, it's not going to work for everyone, to your point, right? It's A/B testing doesn't mean 2 ads. It means 10. It means then create a new ad set. It means continually optimizing. Yes, I love that answer. I couldn't agree more. I think we're getting into what my next question is going to be, which is, so after, let's fast forward to the end of your experience, right? You have all of this knowledge behind you now. So what is your guiding philosophy today when it comes to marketing specifically to drive business growth?
Yeah, so above my laptop, I have a really big piece of paper with 3 words handwritten in my chicken scratch in huge capital letters and a big circle around all 3 of the words. And that is social proof, frequency, and outcomes. Everything to me in marketing comes back to those 3 things. And why I have it written so big above my desk and above my laptop is every time I write an ad, every time I send out a newsletter, every time I work with a client, I take one split second and say, is there any way I can add a little bit more social proof to this? Is there any way I can dangle the juiciest carrot or talk about the outcome of what they're going to get with this a little bit better? Or is there any way that I can increase the frequency of whatever this is that I'm doing? To me, everything in marketing comes back to those 3 things. When you speak in outcomes, you use social proof to back up the fact that you can deliver that outcome. And then you never stop reminding people that you can do that, right? People need to hear or see your brand at least 5 times before they even can make a decision if they're going to purchase your product. Right? And now some studies have put that number closer to 15 because we see a lot more content in a day. We see a lot more ads in a day than we did before Instagram, before Facebook, before we had these phones, right? These billboards in our pocket, right? So you need to be everywhere once you figure out what that juiciest carrot is, once you figure out what that outcome is. And then you just need to back it up with social proof. Everything in marketing comes back to those 3 things. If you can do those 3 things exceptionally well, you cannot lose. You cannot not fail.
That's a good point. I want to make that distinction, and I'd love to get your take on it. And as we dive in a little bit more, is between when you say frequency, what I'm hearing from you, Max, is like you've got to have the other 2 to make frequency work. It's not just about frequency. It's not just about taking AI and scaling. It's not just about throwing more budget at it. But what's the sweet spot when we think about if we have the other 2, where do we dial in frequency to kind of support that?
There's no sweet spot. There's no way to dial in frequency. The frequency score should be 40 million. Like annoy the living daylights out of every single person.
Fair enough.
Period. End of story. The example I always use is Geico, right? Geico spends $1 billion a year to be in every single commercial break. And then to bring it back to your point, right? You have to have the first 2. You have to have the outcome, right? So what's their tagline? We help you save 15% or more on your car insurance by switching to Geico. That's the outcome of working with them, right? And then they have frequency. They jam it down all of our throats. So that way, the moment you think, damn, I need new car insurance or whatever, I got to switch car insurance companies, you think of Geico first because you think of the outcome, right? And because they're everywhere. People are like, oh, I can't send an email more than once a week. I have a client that sends 6 emails a day to their email list. If the content audience fit is good, You're doing them a favor. You're doing them a service by being in front of them nonstop. If the content audience fit is good, the frequency score could be 100. The frequency score could be 10. The frequency score could be whatever. And to take it a step further, if you really, really, really want to get dialed in with your marketing, I wouldn't dial in the frequency score. I would dial in the messaging at each stage of the funnel. So the first thing someone sees is going to be completely different than what they see the 5th time and the 10th time and the 20th time. And you can do all of that in Facebook Ads Manager, right? You can say, okay, exclude anyone who's been to my website or seen my ads in the last 180 days. So we could all but guarantee everyone who sees that ad for that audience, right? Everyone who sees that is someone who's never heard of our brand before, or at least not in the last 180 days. That first touch point will be different than someone who's been to our product page but hasn't purchased, right? At that point, we need to really hammer home the proof, the social proof. Right? We don't need to lead with social proof, right? Middle of the funnel, right? Second, third, fourth touch point, social proof, back up the outcome. So you lead with the outcome. Hey, my name is Marketing Max, and I can help you improve your marketing way easier for a fraction of the cost of what you're doing it for now. That would be the first ad if I were to run it for myself, right? And then the next one would be, and then the follow-up ad that they would see, or the email that they would see is, here's how I did it for this company. Here's how I did it for that company. Here's a breakdown of exactly how I would do it for an e-commerce brand. Here's a breakdown of exactly how I would do it for this brand. Here's another case study. Here's another case study, right? Hey, you shouldn't work with me if this isn't a good fit. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, new opportunity, sale, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, I hear it. So you touched on email there, and I want to kind of zero in on that because I know that's near and dear to many B2B marketers' hearts, maybe a little bit too much so, right? But I know that you're passionate about newsletters. So kind of take us through, because I was talking to a friend of mine and I said, I've got Max coming on the show. He's a huge fan of newsletters. And they looked at me, like I had two heads. They're like, wait, it's 2025. Why do I need a newsletter? But obviously you've had some success. So what are they missing? What are we missing?
Yeah, another kind of hill I would die on, or another core belief, core truth that I will preach till the end of time, is that newsletters are the most underrated marketing channel in B2B. Period. End of story. There is no higher ROI marketing channel than newsletters. Why? Well, if we stick with the concept of you need to get in front of people more than 5 times, right? The easiest way to make sure that you are hitting them without spending any money is email, right? And all the word newsletter is a different wrapper on email marketing, right? It's something to get people to look forward to opening it once a week or once a month or whenever the send is. But all it really is a more, or not even going to say more, a less aggressive email marketing strategy, right? That's what a newsletter is. It's a thought leadership strategy. It's a staying top of mind strategy. And with the right tools and tricks and tips and techniques, you can convert a lot of those newsletter subscribers into customers really, really, really easily. So we generate over 100 leads a month from our newsletter. I shouldn't say leads, I should say booked calls. These are like actually people booking calls, all right? We generate well over 100. And the reason why is because if you, again, deliver good content and your content audience fit is good, people look forward to seeing the newsletter every day or every week. And with very simple tweaks in your messaging and in your ads that you put inside of your newsletter, you can convert those people into demos for your software business, into calls for your agency, into purchases for your e-commerce brand, much more easier than you can just sending an email saying, hey, we have a 50% off discount this week, or hey, here's a new case study, or whatever it might be. Coming up with the thought leadership newsletter is by far and away the highest ROI marketing channel in B2B. From there, it's so much easier to get closer to that 5th touch point and then convert them, because people might not be ready to buy today the moment they see your ad. Maybe budget isn't right, or maybe they just joined a company and they need 30 days, 60 days, 90 days to get buy-in from executive leadership. Or maybe, they're waiting on a big investment round. But like if they sign up for your newsletter today and in 6 months they close that investment round, oh, finally, I have budget to hire Marketing Max to help me with my marketing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And in those 6 months, I've built up significant amount of thought leadership. I've built up a significant amount of trust. I've built up a significant amount of buy-in from them, similar to Geico. That way, the moment they're like, oh, we need an agency. Oh yeah, Marketing Max is in my newsletter every day. And I read at the bottom of his newsletter that he can help me with marketing. Hell yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. And I want to say thank you, by the way, for re-engaging our sales audience, which I imagine is like 85% of our listeners right now, because through the first 20 minutes, I'm sure they're sitting back thinking like, okay, can listen to these two marketers just drone on, about this and that. But okay, we're talking leads. And when we say leads, we're not talking ebook downloads, we're talking calls. We're talking calls inbound, which I think all teams, like it seems like filling the funnel continuous challenge for everyone. So I know you've piqued some interest out there. So let's go down this rabbit hole just a little bit more. So when we talk about lead gen, and obviously, we always want those book calls coming in, but what are some other, we would call them like leading indicators that companies can benchmark to say, look, I'm heading in the right direction. Maybe I don't have 100 calls a month yet, but I'm tracking X, Y, Z. And based on that, I'm predicting success.
I think it's going to change for every company depending on what's most important. The one that I see is often forgot is website traffic to booked call. See if there's a correlation between when website traffic goes up, booked call rate or book call volume goes up or down, and then show up rate. I think show up rate is the most underrated metric in the sales funnel because everyone's like, oh, we're booking 60 calls, but then how many people actually showed up? 40. And how many of those 40 were actually interested? So the huge difference between an MQL and an SQL, right? Like what marketing would qualify as a lead and what the sales team would actually qualify as like this person showed up to the call, they have budget, they have an interest, they're looking to make a decision in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is. The MQLs and the SQLs are all directly correlated to show up rate. So I think it's website traffic to booked call and then just show up rate as a result of, MQLs and SQLs, I think are really important. But like everyone knows the metrics that are important for them, especially if they have even like one full-time salesperson. The bigger thing that I think companies miss or the bigger opportunity is it blows my mind that companies don't do this because HubSpot doesn't make this easy and Salesforce doesn't make this easy and none of these tools make it easy. What you need to do is you need to go into Google Sheets or Excel if you're an Excel person and you need to create a sheet that says website traffic on the left. In one column on the left is all the different things I'm about to rattle off. So you have website traffic, you have leads generated, you have calls booked, you have call show up rate, you have SQLs, how many of those total calls were qualified, right? Closes, and then total marketing spend. So you can look at your MER, right? I guess before total marketing spend, you need total projected LTV of the closes, right? How many closes, total projected LTV of the closes, and then MER. And if you track this month over month, right? So each column is November, December, January, February, March, April. If you track this month over month, you will get so much more interesting insights into, when website traffic goes up, SQLs go down. Or, summertime, if you look at it over the last 2 years, 3 years, if you start tracking this, summertime, things go down, but not by that much. Or I'm really surprised that like January, everyone always says January is slow, but in reality, our conversion rate from booked call to close was way higher in January. Wonder why? Maybe we should spend some more money in January to generate more leads in January. So I think like getting a sense of, or as my wife would call it, actually getting a single source of truth. She works in sales. Getting like a single source of truth would be really, really, really beneficial. And then calendar blocking 30 minutes or an hour every month to update that and then look at the trends and look at, okay, is there any one little tiny nugget that we can glean or learn from the last 2 months of tracking this, right? Is there any insight? Like, oh man, last month we stopped spending with that influencer and, the UTM code that we gave that influencer didn't drive a single conversion, but things completely dropped off. And the only thing we did was pause that influencer. Like maybe the UTM codes weren't working, or maybe they were coming to the website with the UTM codes, but then they were getting retargeted from the Facebook ads, right? So like all of these little things are way easier tracked when you have a single source of truth in Google Sheets. I have a ton of Google Sheets like bookmarked on my Chrome tab bar for all my different clients and all my different projects. So that would be my one piece of advice is pay less attention to specific metrics and pay more attention to tracking the 6 or the 8 or the 10 total metrics for your whole funnel to see where the drop-off points are and where the trends are month over month.
Yeah, I think that's important advice for both sales and marketing to hear, right? Now we have the capability to really, really, really get far into the weeds, right? To get lost a little bit. But like you said, have your 6 to 8 metrics, track them consistently. And I love the time blocking advice too, right?
Yeah.
Put it on your calendar. Do it every month. And then think, what changed? Correlation isn't necessarily causation, but the repetition, you're bound to get insights from that.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Eisenhower Matrix. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but like everything falls into one of 4 buckets, right? And you do the matrix and it's like important and not urgent or urgent and important or whatever. And I think data analytics and data optimization and optimization based on data always falls in the important but not urgent box. And that's why for everything that I have, like I keep a little notepad with like my Eisenhower Matrix every week. And for everything that falls into my important but not urgent box, I calendar block 30 minutes a week or 30 minutes a month or an hour a month to make sure that we're handling that. That's how we win. Everyone else is putting out fires.
Yeah.
I want to every month analyze if there's any way that we can make, the routing to the fire hydrants 1% better.
Right.
And if we can do that and put out the fires, we're going to be light years ahead of everyone else because
Yep.
we're actually paying attention to the important and not urgent bucks.
Yep. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
All right. So transitioning just a little bit as we kind of near the end of the recording, obviously you've built a huge social media following, and now, with a lot of AI tools out there, a lot of outreach being done, I say that building trust online, having a credible, authentic presence is more important than ever. What would your advice be for those like revenue executives, leaders that are out there trying to build a presence, and also you just individual salespeople that are, kind of in the trenches every day?
Let's go back to the Eisenhower Matrix. Posting content is important, but not urgent. So you have a few options. Number one, you can counter block an hour every week to write content and schedule it out. You can counter block an hour every month to do that. You can hire a ghostwriter for a lot less money than you think to write content and schedule it out and post it for you. So yeah, one, counter block. Two, hire a ghostwriter. Three, don't do anything. And the biggest issue that I see is everyone knows they need to be sending a newsletter. Everyone knows they need to be posting content on social, right? They know it's important, but because it's not urgent, and more importantly, because they don't see a direct correlation to, I posted 10 times this month on LinkedIn and we booked X amount of calls, they stop doing it. So they'll do it for a week or they'll do it for a month and they'll say, I don't have enough time for this. I got too much other urgent shit going on, right? If you're playing the long game and if you're playing to win, you need to be able to invest your time or your money, right? Your time via calendar blocking an hour every week to write content, or your money via hiring a ghostwriter to write the content for you. You have to invest both into some long-term strategy. And what I tell clients all the time is, like, depending on where you're at from a business perspective, if you're venture backed, if you're bootstrapped, if you're small and starting out, if you are big, depending on where you're at, you should spend, roughly 20% of your resources on long-term strategies, on long game strategies, and 80% on short. And then as you get more money, as you get bigger, that number should be closer to 50-50, right? And so what are long game strategies? What are long-term strategies? Posting content on social, SEO, right? Podcasting, right? Thought leadership pieces, right? What are short-term? Facebook ads, Google ads, cold email. So if you don't have a very big budget, what I tell people to do all the time is get on a time tracking tool and track how much time you spend on every project, because you're paying for marketing. Even if you're not spending $1, you're paying for it in your time. And so get on a time tracking tool and realize, okay, if I spend 10 hours a week on marketing my business, if I'm a startup, right? And I spend 10 hours a week on marketing my business, 8 hours should go towards short term, right? Short game strategies like Facebook ads and Google ads and cold email or DMing on whatever, or referrals or partnerships. And 2 hours a week should go towards blogging and posting on content, right? That's how I would think about it.
Yeah, I think it goes back to sometimes the simplest advice just cuts really true because we know it and we don't do it, right? I mean, it is a long game. It is consistency. And, for a lot of us and a lot of people listening, that probably doesn't come naturally. And that's in particular, I love the advice of the time tracking tool because that kind of cuts the BS. Like, it might feel like it's 4 hours to me to sit down and write a week's worth of content, but in reality, it's a slog, but it's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Or, it gets faster the next week and the next week. And once you start to see that and to your point, like track the results after that, like it's definitely worth doing and definitely about developing that habit.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. Nothing in marketing is game-changingly, mind-blowingly, oh my God, I can't believe I wasn't doing that before. That makes so much sense. That's the growth hack. It's doing all of the basics exceptionally well. The basics being A/B testing, the basics being speaking in outcomes, the basics being frequency, right? The basics being social proof, the basics being posting on social. It's doing all of those exceptionally well.
Well, that's the hard part, right? Doing all the basics exceptionally well. But
if I started an agency again, I guess that would be the name of it. We do your basics exceptionally well.com.
I like it. It's pretty good.
Rolls off the tongue. No, it doesn't at all.
Yeah,
but
copyright already, or at least trademark. All right. So our final two questions, Max, we ask everyone on the show is, obviously you are founder, head of an agency that probably made you a target for a lot of people out there looking to do some outreach of their own. So to start, what earns time on your calendar?
Pretty much nothing.
Okay.
I really only take calls on Tuesdays, unless I'm in build mode, getting a new project built and stood up. I pretty much only take calls on Tuesdays. So I have a very, very, very finite amount of time, and I don't really buy a lot of things. So there's not a whole lot of things that earn a spot on my calendar at all. I've never responded to a cold email and gotten on a call. I've never responded to a cold LinkedIn DM and gotten on a call ever.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. And our second
Not
one.
saying they don't work. Sorry, I'm just gonna say, not saying they don't work.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of an anomaly. I think maybe not. I just guard my calendar with my life because it is my life.
Oh no, I think we lost you there for a little bit, but yeah, don't worry. I don't think you're going to stop the cold outreach industry anytime soon. But it's good. It's good to have a different answer every now and again. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, final question for you is: what's your one piece of advice to help businesses accelerate their growth?
Retargeting ads on Facebook. If someone lands on your website and the next time they open up Facebook or Instagram, they don't see an ad from you, that's the biggest missed opportunity in your business right now.
Fair enough.
You got to get close to that fifth touch point to bring this conversation full circle. And that's the easiest way to do it. The easiest way to do it, monetarily wise, I don't know if that's the word monetarily, money wise, is a newsletter to stay top of mind. But frequency, the moment they book a call, the moment they land on your website, the moment they start a free trial, $10 a day Facebook ad campaign, a $5 a day Facebook ad campaign, retargeting everyone that visited your website in the last 30 days or the last 3 days, wherever your website traffic is, that is the single most valuable thing that will move the needle for your business.
All right. We heard it here. Let's see. So, I guess I lied. One more question for you is, where can people find you if they want to learn more, if they want to connect?
I am the most responsive on Twitter. You can find me at MarketingMax on Twitter. My friends know me that sometimes I respond faster to Twitter DMs than I do text messages. So, unless you're my wife. So, yeah, Twitter DMs if you have any questions. If you have any things you need help with from a marketing perspective, lead gen perspective, happy to answer questions big or small, or at least point you in the right direction of a book or a video or a resource that might be helpful for you. But yeah, Twitter. And then you can learn more about me, marketingmax.io, and my newsletter that goes out to 117,000 active subscribers every day is growthdaily.com. Growth Daily. We have a morning newsletter and an evening newsletter. That's
very
me.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the show, Max. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
You've been listening to the B2B Revenue Executive Experience. To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.